It's time again this week that we get to visit with our Nebraska Extension agricultural climatologist, Al Dutcher. I am Shaylee Peters, joining you back here on the Rural Radio Network. And Al, the furnace was turned on big time earlier in the week, finally seeing a little bit of relief here towards the end of it. So what can we expect then headed into this weekend and next week?
Well, I think from a standpoint of temperatures, we're going to have at least a week of good, fairly decent weather, back into the more normal to slightly below normal range in regards to temperatures. Highs should be consistently statewide in the 80s here as we come up through the majority of next week. And the biggest issue is going to be the upper air low that was responsible for bringing this cool air in is just slowly pivoting itself across the northern plains. And so we're going to see pieces of energy wrap around that upper air low. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, Nebraska and Kansas are right in that line to see continued convection over the next few days. In fact, the GFS model has become even more aggressive in terms of precipitation than it was even 24 hours ago. And for what we're looking at right now is another impulse will come through the central Rockies, start to move into the plains regions as we go through the daytime, and then start to spread precipitation across much of northern Kansas and potentially southern Nebraska south of the I-80 corridor. As the night progresses, that wave moves eastward. We'll bring those thunderstorm chances into eastern Nebraska, and we'll probably carry those for that part of tomorrow, although we should wane somewhat during the midday period. But yet another impulse will probably come down the pipeline as we get into Saturday night. A little bit more uncertain in regards to the convection and maybe very, very much more scattered, but it'll probably be more confined to the southeastern one quarter of the state. And then we look at the energies as it moves in the upper air low toward the western Great Lakes as we get into Sunday and Monday. The potential is for Sunday afternoon as that wave starts to move and pulls another one around the backside of that upper air low that we could see some pretty significant convection breaking out in eastern Nebraska. So pay attention. We may start to see some indications of that from the National Weather Service as we move into either this afternoon or tomorrow. And that does have the potential to probably bring some very wicked winds, hail, and potentially tornadic activity. And then as we go into the day on Monday, it still wants to keep that upper air low slowly pivoting toward the western Great Lakes region. And as it does, another piece of energy wraps around that upper air low, and it looks like we'll pivot some energy into eastern Nebraska once again. So we got the chance for, again, scattered thunderstorm activity. And my concern is with all the heavy rain we received in that small, light, localized area in southeast Nebraska, we're just going to add fuel to the fire, so to speak. So would not be surprised that we'll see a substantial portion of southeastern Nebraska under some type of flood advisory or flood watch as we go through the next few days. Then as that low starts to pivot toward the Great Lakes, of course, we bring that cooler air in, and yet another upper air low tries to pivot in behind it as we get into late next week. So it looks like renewed chances of precipitation. As we look farther out, once that upper air low that looks like it's going to pivot in late next week starts to clear the Great Lakes, there are indications that we'll start to see the ridge building in the western United States in response to an upper air trough starting to build into the Pacific Northwest. That will start to return the heat in earnest to the central and southern plains, particularly as we turn into the month of July. Well, unfortunately, if you look at this past tendencies over the last 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to go through this 2 weeks of cooler, 2 weeks extremely hot. We need this moisture right now to at least give us some decent respite in western Nebraska. Otherwise, if we start to see this next blast of hot air, things could get rather ugly rather fast.
All right. Thanks so much. It's Nebraska Extension agricultural climatologist Al Dutcher. You're listening to the Rural Radio Network.